Welcome back, everyone. MTG Joe here. I'm going to do a quick one. So we're going to be covering a lot of historic decks over the weekend. So historic is the non-rotating format on Arena. It encompasses all the cards that are on Arena plus certain anthologies where they inject cards from Magic's history. So they opened up the ranked ladder, which is one of the nice things of the format. We can start playing ranked again. I generally really enjoy this format compared to standard. There's a lot of cool things you can be doing. So we will be featuring a bunch of new decks, brews, stuff like that over the next couple days. What I wanted to start with is my favorite deck in the format and likely one of the most powerful aggro decks. It's the Gruul midrange list. And it's really generated off the power of Burning-Tree Emissary. Burning-Tree on 2 lets you basically cast a creature for free because it adds its same mana back. So basically, you can either go like turn 1 Elf into turn 2 Emissary and then potentially play a 3-drop. You can go turn 1 Pelt Collector into Burning-Tree into make this a 3-3 to make this a 3-3. So there's a lot of synergies here. My list, I'm only playing 3 Pelt Collectors. This is the card I least like in the deck. I've tried Bonecrusher Giant, but with the current meta being a little bit more Luca focused, I want to just keep Pelt Collector for now. So we have Gallia, which lets you, if you attack with 3 or more, you get to discard a card and draw 2. You have Domri's Ambush, 1 Domri to fight. Then you got Bonecrushers and Gruul Spellbreakers, along with 1 Klothys main. So basically cutting the Pelt Collector for a Klothys. Then 4 Questing Beasts, 3 Embercleaves. Mana base, I did try the Ancient Ziggurats that came out from the latest anthology. It was more awkward than beneficial, just in the sense that we had lands coming into play untapped, or coming to play tapped, or we just couldn't cast Embercleave or Domri on curve, or like Domri's Ambush. In terms of sideboard, Redcap Melee versus like the Mirrors or Red matchups, Lava Coils versus any creature matchups, Cindervines versus like Nexus or Luca or anything playing non-creatures. Goblin Ruinblaster is something I want to try out. This is one of the anthology cards. So I had the pro white creature, but we haven't really been running into white aggro recently. So this will allow us to destroy a non-basic land, comes in against the field matchups. Then Rampaging Ferocidon basically shuts off life gain and pings your opponent. This also comes in against the field matchup or life gain decks, and then some Ceratops. So I was actually literally 2 points of damage away from hitting Mythic, and then I went on a 4-game losing streak. So we're Diamond 2. Let's play some games, see how it goes. So this was the archetype, for the most part, that last month I got to Mythic in 5 days with, that we eventually finished top 1200. With Luca being around, you're seeing some Luca agent decks, but you're also seeing a lot of these Yorion Fires of Invention. Well, those are all lands. I'm going to keep this only because we can still cast 2 creatures on turn 2. You want to be aggressive against these decks, and then we still have 2 draws to hit a red source. I came so close to Mythic, and then I've just been getting these ridiculous draws. Like, our deck's pretty linear. Yeah, so it's a field deck. So these ones are like heavy ramp. Some of them are leveraging the Gates package. Others aren't. They're going 5 color. You're seeing the Guild Gate. Then it might Maze's End was something they printed. So this is probably a Maze's End variant. Not hitting a land there really sucks. We're also 2 red away from Embercleave. Could see something like Clarion here. This is a rainbow land right now. The one thing we don't really have is graveyard interaction, and if we're seeing a lot more breach decks and stuff like that, then I'm going to be putting in some graveyard. Yeah. This is just an unfortunate draw. We'll still muster through because this deck can just kind of putter out, but it's kind of unlikely at this point. They're hitting their land drops. Well, they did miss one because I hit it off Uro. So they are somewhat stumbling. It'll be interesting to see if this is a Golos version. You're not the land I wanted. So I don't have Fabled Passage in the deck because I always wanted my lands to come into play untapped. I may need to make that concession. Yeah, with Golos out, we're probably dead here. I just want to see if they get field. That'll help our sideboarding decision. Yeah, they are a field deck. Actually, you know what? May be able to sneak it out here. Pass turn here. Depending what they do this turn. If they have an untapped land, they can activate Golos. They do have 2 Gateway Plazas, so they can't turn it on this turn, and they don't have enough in the graveyard. They can Yorion, blink Golos, which will get a land. They have Ghost Quarter. So what they can do is Yorion, blink Golos. Oh, they got Kenrith too? Yeah, now we're dead. With Kenrith, they're going to gain the life. So Ruinblaster in, Ferocidon in, and Cindervines, I think. Do we want Cindervines? Probably not Cindervines. I still want Embercleave. Klothys is fine because they'll likely have a lot of board wipes. I usually cut Gallias in this matchup. And then the Bonecrusher Giants. Trim down on those. They usually don't do too much in this matchup. You're not really hitting much. Because they had Uro, I think we bring in Ceratops. Run it like that. Domri actually doesn't do much either. Let's bring in a Ceratops. If they're on the Shatter plan, it gets around Shatter. It's also pro Uro and Yorion. These matchups are usually so-so. It depends on how aggressive you can be. So it's a little awkward. We would have really liked to elf on one. I think I'm actually going to do this. Next turn I can Burning-Tree and then have 4 mana and then blow up one of their lands if I want. I can also just attack it and make Zhur-Taa and then have enough power there. They just have Shock. They Lava Coil my elf. Sure. So we just want to dodge Clarion next turn. If we can do that, then we'll be in good standings. Next turn we can Embercleave. What I would have done is take them off a land. If we can set them back a land, it can mess them up. Okay, so if I get untapped lands, then I can Embercleave. Which I think we want to prioritize doing this. This also makes a 4 power. So if they have a board wipe, then I can untap with this, blow up their Field of the Dead, and then go from there. Okay. I was going to say, if the 80 card deck managed to draw 3 Lava Coils all at once, because they are on Lava Coils, let's bring in the Cindervines and cut down the Pelt Collectors. I think we do that. Do it like that. Like, we need Domri's Ambush, but I don't want to draw more than one, I think, in the games. That's like a good example of the opponent stumbling, and then us just taking advantage. I'm going to keep this. We have 2 draws to find something else to play off Burning-Tree, and then Llanowar can allow us to play a 3-drop as well. At the very least, we can turn 3 Questing Beast. Questing Beast is very good in this matchup, both from an evasion standpoint and being able to trade. So that's actually very good. If we could get an early Cindervines, these points of damage do add up. It is also removal in a way for Golos. So I think I'm going to do this. It's worse against Clarion, but they haven't shown Clarion the first few games. Okay, they just Lava Coil there. I think we just set up the Questing Beast, put the most damage. This also opens us up that if we hit Embercleave next turn, we can cleave them. Opponent's been very good at drawing Lava Coil so far. I'm just going to blow this up here. I think because the opponent's dead on board, I don't commit the elf. It doesn't change the math anyways, that if they kill Questing Beast. And now they're dead. They block here, they take 5. Bada bada boom. By opponent. So this is something that you need to be mindful of. If you're playing slower decks, you need to be able to interact with the Gruul decks. They can get Cleave online by turn 3. And then you can get some crazy draws where you chain like 2 or 3 Burning Trees into something else. So they can dump pretty much their entire hand on turn 2 some games. And I took them off Fires there because it gives them the best opportunity to untap and then play Golos or Kenrith and then be able to float some mana. This hand's a keep. Opponent goes first. Generally speaking, if you could Burning-Tree into something else on turn 2, this one gives us the flexibility to either go aggressive or Burning-Tree into a removal spell. Opponent's also mulliganing, which bodes well. We'll lead on the mountain. Okay. So based on this, I will go into Gallia here. It's a little worse against Clarion, but it forces them to do the Clarion this turn, and then I can untap and play out like Bonecrusher. So there's a couple different Jeskai decks. There's Jeskai Luca, you can usually tell because it has Yorion. There's a Jeskai taking turns deck, which basically tries to take all the turns. And then there is a Jeskai land destruction deck. That one usually also plays Yorion. The question is, do I want to commit more to the board? I think yes. I want to punish the opponent for not taking a draw here. If we had the land, I would have Questing Beast, obviously. Okay. So it's actually pretty good. Refills our hand. We didn't need 2 Questing Beasts. Okay, they fires. Do they have a shatter? They do. Untap land. Untap land. Thank you. Yeah, I still think we do this. Just put him on a clock. I guess I could have Bonecrusher and Llanowar Elf. Okay, they just 1-for-1 us here. At this point, we're just trying to 4-color Oathakaya. Okay. And they got tough. See if they pick up the Oath again. They don't. So I'm doing this so if they want to, they have to kill the Teferi to be able to bounce this. So opponent is stabilizing a bit despite falling down on mana. That's an interesting choice. So I can play you out, or I can, so if I do 2 mana and then 5, I think we just try to play it that we kill him next turn. So this is obviously like a Cindervines matchup, very good in this case. Teferi bounce this, so yeah, that's worse. They bounce the elf. Very strange why the opponent's choosing not to do it there. Here we just hardcast and then kill him. They could have Oathakaya'd and then gain the life. So this is Cindervines matchup, Ceratops, and I think we want the Ruinblasters. They're a pretty greedy mana base. Bonecrushers could come out. Didn't prove that well, and they all are. They're also on board wipes. I think we actually there's a fairy deck, so let's keep the Pelt Collectors in. Run it like that. I doubt they're playing counters, so we can probably cut the Domri. Maybe we play Bonecrusher. Just play a 1-of. Some burn. I don't know what they're on, so I don't know like how reasonable Domri's ambush is. So let's maybe go like this. This always has a target. So imagine here we're going to be seeing a higher density of board wipes. We'll probably see stuff like Aethergust perhaps. So I'm going to keep this hand, particularly because Klothys is very good. So I'll probably go Zhur-Taa and into Klothys. I would love a Burning-Tree. There's a consideration to just have this with haste, because if they have something like Oathakaya, okay, if that's their turn, then I'm pretty happy. Okay, so it's the Super Friends Fires deck. So I'm going to do this in part because if they don't have Teferi this turn, I can exile their land and then ramp into Questing Beast. Timely Reinforcements. So one of the new cards from the set. You're a 2/1, so you don't really do much. So I can go Questing Beast here, but I think I want to save Questing Beast for when I can also deal with the Planeswalker, because it's kind of dual removal. I'm going to take them off the life gain here, I think. It's more relevant in this matchup. They can triple block, or they can put one here. Timely going into the grave is also something we could start pinning him with. Really like a land here, just to be able to multi-spell. Don't need to ramp this turn. So let's deal some damage to them. So I'm actually going to use Domri's Ambush here to make this 4 power. Because if they have a board wipe like Shatter, then I get to draw a card, and then this also survives Clarion then. Actually, I'm an idiot. If I did that pre-combat, then I could have had Klothys out. I always forget that this is also a creature. Okay, we have Othakaya. We just put a whole chunk of damage on the opponent. They can gain 3 next turn, but Klothys is putting a clock on them, so it'll be something difficult for them to come back from. Even if they shatter here, I draw a card. They shock. Okay, back on track with Gruul. So I just wanted to do a quick one here, demoing the deck. This is, like I said, a deck you will be running into a lot of. It is one of the premier aggro decks, and I believe on Aether Hub it is the top meta deck that they're tracking with the MTG Assistant. So if we look at Historic, yeah, so based on MTG Assistant, which is tracking user games, Gruul currently is about 24% of the meta. So this is basically a demonstration of said deck, and it is a good example to kind of get you into the game. It is pretty much the same as the current Gruul deck, which is nice and standard. Most of the cards are standard legal. You have some uncommon or some commons here, an uncommon, and then pretty much everything else is standard legal, with the exception of Rootbound Crag. So if you already have Gruul in standard, this is a good thing to try out in Historic. It will win you games and kind of run over your opponent quite quickly. Anyways, I'm going to wrap this one up. I'll be back on the weekend. I am brewing a couple different decks to try out. I have an Esper Reanimator deck that I'm working on to try to get Ulamogs and Agent of Treacheries into play on turn 4 with newly printed Unburial Rites that was interjected into the format, as well as a Rakdos Phyrexian Obliterator kind of mid-range deck that I'm trying out. So kind of Jund-esque style, mainly black with splash of red for some powerful cards there. So I'll be featuring both these decks on the weekend as well, but just wanted to get something out as of right now. So thanks for stopping by. I'll catch you on the weekend, and hope you have a great one and enjoy the incoming summer weather. Have a great one.